Hello and welcome to Dayspace Online. My name is Talia from Caterham, and today I'm going to be showing you guys some tips and tricks with food hygiene and food safety, and with laundry and doing your washing and folding clothes and all of the really boring things that hopefully these tips and tricks will make a little bit easier and a little bit quicker for you guys to get done at home. So let's get into it. Right, so first up we have food hygiene, and my number one top tip here is to always read your labels really carefully, because they usually tell you everything you will need to know. A tricky one can be the difference between use by and best before. So an easy way to remember this is, it might be best if you write this down actually, and maybe stick it on your fridge or something so you always have it nearby. Use by means that you have to have used the food or drink by the date which is displayed on the packaging. But best before means that the food or drink will taste best before the date shown on the package, but you can use it probably a couple of days later than that, but I wouldn't go further than a couple of days. Right, next up is how to hygienically pack your fridge. So on the top shelf you want to have all of your dairy products, so that's cheese, milk, actually milk can go in the door, can't it really, but cheese, yoghurt, mayonnaise, butter, all of that sort of stuff goes on the top shelf, with any cooked fish or meat. So top shelf is dairy and any cooked fish or meat, so any leftovers you might have. The middle shelf is all of your raw produce, so any raw fish or any raw meat that hasn't been cooked yet, and that goes on the middle shelf, because then it isn't in a position where it could drip onto the dairy or drip onto any other food, because the fruit and veg are kept safely in their little boxes at the bottom. So that's the safest place for the raw food to be. And you've got to make sure that all of your food in your fridge, especially raw meat and fish, is sealed completely, is either in a container or is in a completely sealed package, because you don't want bacteria spreading from food to food, because that's not good. So yeah, then lastly, in the bottom of the fridge you have your fruit and veg in the boxes. Again, they should be sealed as well, in plastic packaging or in the paper bags that you can get from the supermarkets, and always remember to wash your fruit and veg before cooking it. So next up we have fridge and freezer rules. This is more freezer really, and this is a really important one to remember. After defrosting any meat or any fish or any ice cream, you cannot refreeze it. I always think it's a good idea to make a note of when food has to be eaten when I put it in the freezer. So that might be sticking a post-it note to the food itself, so then when I open my freezer I can see what needs to be eaten by when, or maybe write a list and again stick it on a cupboard or stick it on the front of your fridge or your freezer, so you know exactly what needs to be eaten by what point. And again, always look at the label, because even for freezing, most packages will say on the back for how long you are able to freeze something, so have a little look at that. And also, a very important one, always make sure all meat and all fish is thoroughly cooked all the way through after it's come out of the freezer. So don't try and do a medium rare steak if that steak has been in the freezer. You can only try to do that with fresh meat. Washing. So again, with your washing you want to look at the labels in the back of each item of clothing, because the label will tell you everything you need to know, whether that piece of clothing can go in the washing machine, and if so, at what temperature. If the clothes are made of a more delicate material, they may have to be washed at a lower temperature on a more delicate cycle. The labels will also tell you if that item of clothing is safe to go in the tumble dryer. So labels are your best friends, really.
Here are some of the most common washing instructions you'll see. There are different symbols on labels. The bucket that looks like a little bucket of water, this is your washing instructions. And in all of these categories there are quite a lot, but the ones you'll see most and are important, that's do not wash. If you see a bucket with a little hand going into it, that means it's hand wash only. If you see a bucket with 2 lines under it, that means you have to wash it on a gentle wash. The triangle is for bleaching, and the most commonly seen of them are do bleach, do not bleach. Same with dry cleaning, that is a circle, and that includes do and do not dry clean. But if you do take anything to the dry cleaners, they will be able to advise you. The square is drying instructions, and it includes the square with the circle is a tumble dryer, so that symbol means you can tumble dry, and the same thing with a cross means you can't tumble dry it. There is also a square with a filled in circle, and that means you can tumble dry it but with no heat. And finally, although there are others which you can Google, that's quite important, is lie flat to dry, which means you can't hang it up when it's drying. And then the last symbol group is this funny symbol, and this is ironing instructions. And that includes you can iron it, you can't iron it, or possibly the strangest symbol of all of them, which I'm only including because it's weird. That symbol, which looks really weird, but means you can't steam it.
And you want to separate your clothes into different washes. You want to have your white clothes and your light clothes. So white and light, that's quite easy to remember, which are kind of pastel colours. And they go all together. And then you have your block colours, so kind of reds and blues and greens. They all go together. And then you also have your blacks and darks colours. And you want to separate those into those 3 groups. You can maybe put the colours in with the white and lights if you want to, if you're living life on the edge, but I'd put them into those 3 groups, and that just saves any possible transfer of colours from clothes, which you don't want. And a few top tips to finish off is to always spray any stains with a stain remover such as Vanish before putting them in the washing machine. Always check the label before you put an item of clothing into the tumble dryer, because if it's not supposed to be in the tumble dryer, then they will shrink. And also, this is one that I didn't know before, towels should be washed at 60 degrees to kill all germs, so that's really important. So yeah, thank you guys, thank you for watching and listening, and I hope that some of that information is helpful. Yeah, woohoo!